If you are an Amazon seller, then this little label right here just might be the secret weapon to scaling your FBA business. This, my friends, is a 2D barcode. And in today's video, I am going to show you how I use 2D barcodes in my Amazon business to help me grow, save time and money, manage my staff, and prep and ship FBA units faster than I ever did before. So what is up, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Larry, aka Watch Me Amazon. I am an 8-figure Amazon seller. I operate multiple warehouses, and about a year ago, I started using 2D barcodes in my FBA business. Now, if you guys are not familiar with what a 2D barcode is, it is basically a way of communicating with Amazon. So instead of manually entering all of your FBA information into Seller Central, your box content, your expiration date, what's in every box, how many units, you simply embed that information into your own custom barcodes. Amazon will then scan those barcodes when they receive them, and that's how they know what's in your shipment. More importantly than what a 2D barcode is what implementing them into your FBA business allows you to do. When you communicate with Amazon like this, it'll give you full flexibility and full control over your FBA prep operations. It will make you more efficient, it will make you faster, it increases your production, it helps you get more organized, it helps you run your business better, it helps you manage your workers better, it helps you get shipments out the door faster. There is a reason why on Amazon's website, on Seller Central, it says, and I quote, 2D barcodes will scale large shipments more easily. And there's also a reason why almost every large FBA seller uses 2D barcodes in their businesses. So, if you are watching this video and you are a growing FBA seller and you want to get your shipments received into Amazon faster and streamline your business and streamline how you delegate work to your staff, then perhaps 2D barcodes are going to be right for you. Up until recently, guys, using 2D barcodes was reserved strictly for larger sellers who would make their own custom software just so they can use them. And the reason for that is Amazon does not actually create the 2D barcodes for you. You have to either make them yourself or use a third-party solution. So about a year ago, as I was scaling my business and trying to improve some of my processes, I decided to make my own 2D barcode software. I originally tried some of the other options that were on the market, but nothing came close to doing what I needed it to do, and that's when 2D Workflow was born. 2D Workflow is the name of the tool that I created to automate my FBA prep, remove human errors and inefficiencies from my business, and help me get my products into Amazon faster. In today's video, I'm gonna give you guys a behind the scenes look at how I use it in my business and probably sharing with you a bunch of reasons why you may wanna use it in yours. Let's go. All right, so the first thing I wanna do is give you guys an idea of what my FBA shipping and prep process looked like before I actually started using 2D barcodes. So for a little bit of context, my business model is wholesale. And like most wholesale or arbitrage sellers, when we receive products into our warehouse, the first thing we typically do is you're gonna sort those products. If you are someone who is working with pallets, that basically means taking all of the boxes off of the pallet and then separating them by product. We would then lay out all of the different products across the warehouse floor, like you guys can see behind me, with each stack of boxes representing a different item. So step number one in most workflows is simply to decide which items you want to send to Amazon and creating an FBA shipment. So after we decide what we want to ship, step number two is to print our FBA item labels. And I do want to say this about FBA item labels. Me personally, I don't like to print them one at a time, SKU by SKU, because I find that to be just not very efficient, very inefficient. So instead, what I like to do is I like to print all of the item labels for my whole entire shipment in one shot. The problem there, however, is that you're gonna get this big, massive stack of item labels, and I don't just wanna hand that off to my workers. So like most of our shipments are gonna have 50 to 100 different SKUs. All the FBA labels look very similar, and if I just give that whole pile to them to fend for themselves, I know we're going to get a lot of mistakes. So the next thing I'm gonna do with my labels, just like with sorting the boxes and sorting the products, I'm gonna sort the labels. So I'm literally gonna take a scissor, I'm gonna go through my stack of labels, and I'm gonna cut and separate all of the different item labels from each other, and then I'm gonna staple them together so there's no confusion. Now, some of you guys watching this, you may do it a little differently. Maybe you mark with a pen where one SKU ends and another one starts. Maybe you highlight it. Maybe you write down some prep instructions. But now that we have our item labels, step number 3 in our process is for me to delegate that work to my prep staff. All right, so the way that I used to delegate work to my workers is by going out in the warehouse and placing each stack of item labels directly on top of the physical product that they belong to. And this is kind of like one of the ways I'm trying to minimize my mistakes, right? So these labels are for this item, these labels are for that item. It's, pretty clear cut and self-explanatory. Couple of other things we do when delegating. One, as I mentioned before, it's to leave prep instructions. So I'll put the labels on top of every single item. And the way I'll leave prep instructions is if an item is a 2-pack or a bundle, I have to let the guys know. And the way I do that is by leaving an example, a physical example of how we want those items prepped and labeled. And I'm gonna put that right on top of the product stack. Again, I know some of you guys might like to do this a little differently. Maybe you write down your prep instructions, maybe you highlight it, but me, if it's a 2-pack, I would simply put 2 of them in a poly bag and my workers see it. If it's a bundle, I put the bundle items together into a poly bag, leave the labels, and they would see that. Another thing, I don't know if you guys can see behind me, but one of the things that we do to help us later in the process, for each one of these stacks of items, we would take out one of the products and physically put it on top of the stack just so we can much easier see what item is in that pile. All right, so now that I delegated all the work, any stack of items out here in the warehouse that has labels on top of it is basically me telling my guys, this is an item that you need to prep and label. And now, once I've laid out all the labels for all the stuff I want to ship, the ball is in their court. Let's go to the prep station. I'm going to show you what I mean. All right, so step number 4, which is done by my prep staff, is to prep and label all of the items that we've assigned to them. So the first thing they are typically going to do is to pick up a product and bring it over here to their prep station. Some of the things they're going to do is they're going to check the prep instructions that I left for them. They're going to read the labels just to double check that it matches the physical product that they have. And then they are going to do their thing and prep and label that product. If it is a product that has an expiration date, they are also going to use an expiration date gun like this and add that expiration date label onto the product. The next thing they are going to do is then pack that product as efficiently as possible into the boxes. Most of the time, we try to reuse manufacturers' boxes, but sometimes we do repack stuff when it makes sense, but most of the time we try to use the manufacturer's case pack. All right, so now that the item is packed, the next thing they are going to do is they are going to write on the box how many units are in it, and then they are going to bring all of those boxes back to where they picked them from. So remember guys, we still have to apply our box labels at the end of a shipment. So even though these items are finished, the boxes still have to get put back and sorted so that we can easily find them at the end when we are doing our box labels at the end of the shipment. All right, now step number 5 in our workflow, which is also done by our prep staff, is to track box content information. So what my workers do, they have this clipboard, and every time they finish a product, they write down the FNSKU number, the expiration date, how many units we have, and how they are packed. So for example, they finish an item, they have 10 boxes with 12 units in each. They are going to write that down on a piece of paper because Amazon is going to need us to enter that box content information in order to complete the shipment. So steps number 4 and 5 are basically my team packing and prepping items and manually keeping track of the box content as they go. And they are going to continue prepping items one by one until we are done and ready to ship, or until I bring them out more labels and tell them to keep going. When we are actually done with all the items in the shipment and we're ready to ship, step number 6 is to manually enter all of that box content information that they have been tracking into Seller Central. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna take that list and I will manually copy over all of those items, all of this information into Amazon. So every item that they wrote down, I'm gonna find it in the shipment and I am going to enter how it's packed, how many boxes, what the expiration dates are, and so on and so forth. And that is basically how we do our box content information. Step number 7, once we're done with that, is to print and apply our FBA box labels. And to be honest, this is probably the most annoying step in the whole entire process. So as you guys probably know, Amazon box labels, they are box specific. You cannot just take these box labels and stick them on any box. You have to match up the right box to the right label. So the box labels print out, they have an FNSKU number on them, which signifies a specific item in the shipment. Doesn't say the name of the item, just the FNSKU number, so that's a lot of fun. And not only do you have to match up the right labels to the right boxes, but they also have quantities on them, so you have to make sure that if you have differing quantities in a box, that you match that up as well. So the way we used to do that was, we would take our stack of box labels, our giant stack, and we would look up in the shipping plan what product the first set of box labels belong to, and then we just physically walk around the warehouse and find the boxes for that specific item. So we'll start with FNSKU number 1. One guy will look it up, he'll call it out to the warehouse, he'll say what kind of item it is, and the other guy is gonna walk around the warehouse trying to find it. When he finally finds those boxes, he'll make sure that the FNSKU matches, and then he'll apply the box labels. Then, on to item number 2, on to item number 3, on to item number 4, etc. Now imagine doing this when you have hundreds of boxes in your workspace, or shipments that have dozens or hundreds of different SKUs. On big shipments, this process alone literally took us hours and hours every single week, and it's one of the main reasons that I created 2D Workflow. All right, so step number 8, once the boxes are labeled, we can finally begin to put them on pallets, palletize everything, wrap everything up, and ship this shipment to FBA. And that was our process, week in, week out, for years. So I just want to reiterate with you guys. Step number 1, create a shipment. Step number 2, item labels, printing out the item labels. Step number 3, assigning the work. Step number 4, my workers are going to prep and label the products. Step number 5, my workers are going to track all the box content information. Step number 6, we're going to upload that box content information into Amazon. Step number 7, we're going to do our box labels. And step number 8, once those box labels are matched up to the right boxes and done, we are going to palletize and ship. That was our process for, many, many years, and somehow we made it work. All right, now I want to show you guys just how different everything is after incorporating 2D Workflow into my business. So come with me. So step number 1 in my new process, obviously, just to decide what items we want to ship to Amazon, and we create an FBA shipment, same as before. Step number 2 is simply me telling my staff, this is the shipment that I want you guys to work on, and that's it. I am done. For me, the process is now over. 2D Workflow is going to do the rest. So no more of me printing and sorting item labels for everyone. No more of me handing out labels to my guys or telling them which items they should be working on. No more tracking box content or manually entering all that box content into, Amazon, into Seller Central. No more box labels. All of the stuff that used to take up a tremendous amount of my time now gets automated via 2D workflow, and I can focus on other much more important things. So to reiterate quickly, step number 1, we make a shipment. Step number 2, I tell my guys which shipment I want them to work on. All right, now step number 3, out in the warehouse, my prep stations now have a computer, and they are going to use that computer along with 2D workflow to finish FBA shipments faster than we ever had before. So 2D workflow is going to tell them which item they need to do next, where they can find it in the warehouse, and how many units of that item they need for this particular shipment. It's also going to show them a picture of the item and the title so that they know they are working on the right thing. It's also going to tell them how the item should be packed, give them prep instructions, and relay any special message that I need them to know or any special instructions that I need them to know about that ASIN. Then, if the product has an expiration date, they are simply going to enter it here, and when they are ready to go, at the touch of a button, 2D workflow will give them the exact number of labels that they need for that particular item. If they did enter an expiration date, that will be on the same sticker as the Amazon label, so they no longer have to do separate expiration date stickers or label each item twice. And when they are done labeling the product, they're simply going to enter in 2D workflow how many boxes they have. Let's just say for this particular example, they have 8 boxes, and right then and there on the spot, 2D workflow is going to give them the FBA box label along with our 2D barcode so they can apply it right then and there. Now, this is amazing for a number of reasons. 1, they no longer have to track box content. 2, you no longer have to manually enter box content into Seller Central. You no longer have to do the whole box label process at the end of a shipment. So no more printing box labels at the end, no more matching up labels, no more walking around the warehouse, trying to find the boxes that you're looking for. And because we're printing box labels on the fly as we go, you no longer have to keep your boxes sorted right in the middle of your work area waiting to be labeled. You can simply just finish a product right away, add that box to an outgoing pallet, because that item is 100% done and ready to ship. So guys, this means you only touch each product you're working on once instead of multiple times, and you can simply pick any product from your shipment, instantly prep it, and those boxes are ready to go. Now, once they are done with that first SKU, you can see it's finished here. It's highlighted in green, signifying that it's done. 2D workflow will then tell them which item to do next, how many units, and so on and so forth. And this workflow is wonderful because it allows you to just blow through your shipments by picking an item. It's instantly prepped, labeled, packed. The box content is done, box labels are done, expiration date, everything, and you can just go super fast, finish a product, add it to an outgoing pallet. Next product, labeled, packed, finished. Next product, labeled, packed, finished. Using this new workflow has saved us a tremendous amount of time and money. My production is up, my prep costs are down, I'm saving on labor, and more importantly, I'm getting all of my shipments received into Amazon much, much faster. All right, now another really cool thing that you can do with 2D workflow that I want to show you is, let's say you have a pallet come into the warehouse with a bunch of different products on that pallet. You can simply pick up any box at random from the top of the pallet, scan the product with a handheld scanner, and 2D Workflow is going to give you labels for just that one box. You pick a box, you finish it, you set it to the side, you grab your next box. Any item that you scan that's in your shipment, 2D Workflow is going to give you or your team the exact amount of labels you need for it on demand. So this basically allows you to just go box by box off of a pallet in any order that you want and just make literally light work of pallets by flying right through them. Now, another thing that I want to show you is many of you guys like to create multi-SKU boxes or boxes that have multiple different products in it. So with 2D Workflow, you can simply scan items, different items, put them into a box, and instantly generate item labels and box labels for those items. And by the way, this isn't just for people who ship pallets. 2D Workflow can 100% be used to help streamline your business and help you save money and help you, ship faster, even if you are still shipping individual boxes. Now, as you're prepping and making your way through your FBA shipment, 2D Workflow is also going to track your progress. It will show you how many items and products you have left until that shipment is done. And when you are finished and ready to ship, you can just easily buy partnered shipping directly from the tool, print pallet labels, print UPS labels, and complete your shipment, and you are ready to go. All right, now another really cool thing I want to show you guys is this, and this is also one of my absolute favorite features, and that is the dashboard. So 2D Workflow is going to track exactly how many units and different products that you guys prep on a daily, weekly, monthly, etc. basis. And the reason why I like this so much, actually a bunch of different reasons, but one of the reasons is you cannot improve stuff that you're not tracking. And being able to track your production, how many units you're producing, how many units your workers are producing, your different prep stations is a huge key to growing your business and optimizing your prep. So I have 2 tips for you guys. One, I have data from my own 2 warehouses and from literally dozens of users of 2D Workflow that when your prep workers in the warehouse see how many units they produced today, how many units they produced yesterday, this will 1000% get them to produce much, much more. One of the things we did when we started was we put out in the warehouse a screen that shows how many units we prepped yesterday and where we're at for the day today. And I'm telling you, our production just exploded. And I know it exploded because I can track it. So many other users have started doing the same thing. And I promise you guys that if your workers are cognizant, if they know what they're doing, your production numbers are gonna go up, all right? That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, one of the absolute best ways to scale your business, to make more money, and to be able to buy a bunch of new products that maybe you wouldn't be able to buy otherwise is by drastically lowering your prep costs per unit. So, for example, the way you track your overhead per unit is you take all of your non-shipping expenses. So you take your rent, you take your labor, your utilities, your supplies, all of that stuff, and you divide that by the total amount of units that you're prepping in a single month. So for example, for easy math, your expenses are $5,000 for everything, and you're producing 5,000 units per month. Your total prep cost is gonna be $1 per unit. All right, now if you can somehow figure out how to keep your expenses the same, but raise how many units you can crank out to 10,000 units per month, your per unit prep cost just got cut in half down to 50 cents. So this means you just unlocked 50 cents more margin for every single item you sell. It also means you can now find more potential products to buy, products that maybe didn't make sense before, products that had a really small profit after factoring in all of your expenses, but now because you shaved $1 off of your prep, maybe those products start to make a little more sense. And have you guys ever looked at a product on Amazon and asked yourself, how are these sellers possibly selling this item and making any money. You know, I'm talking about a product, you look at it and, you know, after factoring in all of your expenses, you're barely making a nickel on it and you're wondering, how the hell are these other guys selling it? Well, the answer is, when there's a $2 profit on a product and your overhead is $1.85, then that is an item that is not going to make sense for you to sell. But if you can optimize and scale your production to where every item only costs you 20 cents overhead, well, now you have an item that makes almost $2 net instead of an item that makes 10 or 15 cents. And oftentimes in this business, especially at scale, especially with lower margins, the difference between success and failure can come down to optimizing all of your expenses. And lastly, if you can go from a $1 per unit prep cost, for example, to 50 cents per unit, then ultimately that means you are making a lot more money. And if you sell 5,000 units a month, or 50,000 units a year, or 1,000 units a year, whatever it is, those extra 50 cents are real tangible profits that you're adding to your bottom line. And 2D Workflow is gonna help you do that. So guys, I've been using this system now for the better part of a year. I've been playing around with the 2D barcode workflow and seeing where we can optimize things, where we can tweak things. And I just wanna tell you guys, my production in the last year, how many units we're cranking up, is up almost 50%. We're shipping way more stuff to Amazon faster than ever before. My overhead is down big time. I've been able to substantially cut my prep costs and save a lot of money. I've been able to delegate a lot of the tedious manual tasks that used to really annoy the hell out of me. Like just the fact that I don't have to physically be in my warehouse to give someone labels and instead can create a shipment remotely, and 2D Workflow is gonna give my guys everything they need. That is amazing. And probably the best thing of all, the biggest game changer of all, is I am able to get my products received into Amazon fulfillment centers much, much faster than before. So that is going to be it for this video, guys. I really hope that you were able to take away at least a few gems that you can use to either better your processes or do things a bit faster or save some loot, or at the very least, hopefully you guys were able to learn something new. In the very next video that I put out, I am going to give you a step-by-step walkthrough of all the features in 2D Workflow in depth that I wasn't able to touch on here today. There's a lot more really cool stuff that it can do. So when I put that video out, I'm gonna drop a link for it right here. And lastly, if you're interested in trying out 2D Workflow, just go to 2dworkflow.com. Click the link below. I'm also gonna put a link in the description below. Like I said, it is amazing for big sellers, medium sellers, prep centers. By the way, for those of you with multiple selling accounts, you can access multiple selling accounts on it, multiple marketplaces. So that's a great feature that I didn't even cover. And honestly, it's just a great tool for a growing FBA seller who wants to totally optimize their FBA shipping and prep and take their business to the next level. If you guys want to try it, hit the link below. Also feel free to shoot me a message. I am more than happy to answer any questions or help, walk you guys through anything. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.